When Christian had travelled in this depressed condition for a significant amount of time, he thought he heard the voice of a man on the way ahead of him, saying, "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me." Psalm 23, verse 4. As a result, gladness filled Christian's heart for these reasons. First, because he gathered from what he heard that others who feared God were in the valley along with him. Secondly, since he understood that God was with him, even in such a dark and dismal place, he reasoned that his invisible presence was with him in spite of the hindrances of such a place. Were he to pass me, I would not see him. Were he to move past me, I would not perceive him. Job chapter 9, verse 11. Thirdly, he hoped to catch up and enjoy some fellowship with the man ahead, and thought about calling him, though he didn't know what to say. He had also thought himself to be alone. Finally, the light of morning dawned, and Christian said, "He has turned the shadow of death into morning. He who made the Pleiades and Orion, and changes deep darkness into morning, who also darkens day into night, who calls for the waters of the sea, and pours them out on the surface of the earth. The Lord is his name." Amos chapter 5, verse 8. Now, in light of the new day, he looked back, not because he wanted to go back the way he had come, but to see more clearly what hazards he had navigated through in the dark. He could see the ditch perfectly on the one side and the quagmire on the other, along with just how narrow the way was which lay between them. He could also see the hobgoblins, satyrs, and dragons of the pit, but they kept their distance. Apparently, after the break of day, they were reluctant to come near. Yet he saw them in fulfillment of that which is written. He reveals mysteries from the darkness and brings the deep darkness into light. Job chapter 12, verse 22. Christian was greatly encouraged that he had made it through all the dangers of this solitary journey so far. He could now see these dangers, though he feared them more than ever, because the light of day exposed them. So the rising sun offered even more mercy to Christian, because it is important to note that though the first part of the valley of the shadow of death was dangerous, this second part which stretched ahead of him was, if possible, far more dangerous. From the place where he currently stood, he could see that throughout the remainder of the valley, the way was full of snares, traps, gins, and nets. Along with that, the depths were so full of pits, pitfalls, deep holes, and unsafe ledges that if it had been dark now, like it was when he came to the first part of the way, even if he had 1,000 souls, they all would have been lost. But as I said, the sun was now rising. "Then," said he, "his lamp shone over my head, and by his light I walked through darkness." Job chapter 29, verse 3. Christian made it to the end of the valley, walking in the light. Now, I saw in my dream that at the end of the valley lay blood, bones, ashes, and mangled bodies of men, even of pilgrims who had gone this way earlier. While I pondered the possible reason for such remains, I spotted a little cave ahead of me where two giants, Pope and Pagan, lived in old times. It was by their power and tyranny that the men whose bones, blood, ashes, and other remains lay in this place were cruelly put to death. But Christian passed by this place without much danger, and it somewhat surprised me. But I have learned that Pagan has been thought to be dead many a day. As for the other, though he is still alive, because of his old age and many shrewd conflicts from his younger days. He has grown so crazy and stiff in his joints that he can do little more than sit in his cave's mouth, grinning at pilgrims as they go by, and biting his nails in frustration because he can no longer intercept them. So Christian went on his way, but he didn't know what to think of the old man sitting at the mouth of the cave, especially because Pope was unable to approach him, though he spoke to him, saying, "You will never mend till more of you are burned." But Christian held his peace and smiled as he went by, and suffered no harm. Then he sang a song. "O world of wonders," I can say no less, "that I should be preserved in that distress I have met with here. O blessed be the hand that from it has delivered me. Dangers in darkness, devils, hell, and sin did surround me, while I this vale was in. Snares, pits, traps, and nets did lie about my path, that worthless I might have been caught, entangled, and cast down. But since I live, let Jesus wear the crown."